Alright guys, new month, new week, new episode. Let's get started by talking about, well, how to start your fanfic. With fanfic, one of the chief advantages is that you're writing to a built-in audience. If they've clicked the link, odds are they like the fandom, the genre, the characters, or the pitch. And we'll go into summaries and pitches later in a different video, don't worry. Or there's some combo of all of the above. Point is, you've got the attention of your reader. Now all you have to do is keep their interest once they've started reading those first sentences. I've heard it said that we've got a fast food culture when it comes to fanfic. There's some truth to that, though I'd reframe it as an idea of instant gratification. After all, I've clicked this story link, so where's the awesome story idea that I was promised? And I want that awesome story right now, the same way I want a cheeseburger right now. Though, this said, I don't think fanfic is always the equivalent of a cheeseburger. You can run the gamut of cheeseburgers to good steak with fanfiction, just like you can in any form of entertainment. I absolutely think that's possible. Anyways, moving away from that tangent, there is a sense of instant gratification with fanfic, due to this little thing called the internet and having any number of stories available at the click of a button. Odds are if you're writing in a fandom, there's other stories in that fandom for people to read. So how do you keep someone's attention on your story out of everything and make it stand out? Well, I think there's a couple of ways to do that. 3 for the purposes of this video. So let's go over a few of them. Method 1, raise questions. Getting your readers to wonder and be curious is great, because it means that you're holding their interest. If they have questions, they'll keep reading to try and get answers. For me, the questions I try to raise are what is going on, why is it happening, and who is it affecting? Then I try to take my time in answering. No need to give everything away in the first paragraph or chapter. A little curiosity in the reader goes a long way, and it keeps them reading your story. But to break the questions down real quick, what? This is generally the situation that you start your story on. Usually you get something high stakes right out the gate to draw the audience in. It might be a big fight where there's a bunch of sides and characters that are brought out to showcase what they can do, and along the way we get to figure out what's being fought over and just what the threats are. There's similar action scenes that can have stakes getting ratcheted up. Lives, property, personal effects, whatever. But it establishes the risk and threat in the story. Or perhaps the characters find someone unconscious in a weird situation, or dead, and it becomes a crime scene. Murder mysteries make their own livelihood with this setup. This said, it's also possible to make an opening quiet. Maybe it's someone waking up in a new situation and trying to puzzle things out. It's the soft questions, and this leads to why. So, there's a situation and some events going on, but why are they getting set in motion? What's the motivation for why this is going on? What sort of outside players are influencing this situation? This usually means that there's an antagonist involved, even if they don't have to be present. Maybe it's their minions causing the threat and damage. Or this is just Tuesday for the antagonist and they don't even know what sort of effects their actions are having on the protagonists. Unless you're dealing with a natural disaster, there is going to be something or someone driving this scene. And even then, in the case of a disaster, odds are the protagonists have done something to land themselves in the situation. And speaking of the protagonists, who? And this is the personal level. How do all of the prior things affect our protagonists? It could be a negative effect that makes the characters and readers go, oh no, what's going to happen next? Or it's a moment of feel-good to just give everyone the warm fuzzies and care about the characters. If you have the characters in place and being affected by everything going on, then hey, you've got something the readers can focus on and draws everything together. You've got a combination of magnet and magnifying glass with the protagonists there. And with all those questions in mind, I think this is one of the reasons why AU's, aka the alternate universe fanfic, is so popular. Because they already raised the question of what's changed just through concept alone, whether it's a modern day alternate universe, fantasy, vampires, wizard school, vampire wizard schools, etc. Point is, they raise a question. Method 2. Respect and remind the canon. If someone clicks on your link and is greeted with characters acting like they never would, or anarchisms flying around and jarring with the established setting, there's a pretty good chance that they are going to click that back button. This isn't to say that you can't break this rule ever. In fact, you might be hoping to raise some questions by having something outlandish and contradicting canon show up. But that's something you have to handle with care. It becomes a question on just how well you can sell that contradiction, and how well you can convey to the readers that yes, this is actually on purpose and is an important part of the story. But there's also one step past just respecting the canon, and that's reminiscing, reminding people of the canon you're writing about. It's about remembering what makes the source material so special to you in the first place. Maybe it's this one scene of perfect emotion that replays over and over, something you make a save file or a bookmark just so you can go back to and revisit it. Or maybe it's this part where a character perfectly expresses themselves and makes them so real in your head. And whatever that is, it sticks in your brain for hours after you turn off the TV, close the book, or power down the game system. It's something that keeps bringing you back to the source material. And if you can figure out what that something is and remind other people why they love it so much along with you, yeah, you pretty much got your readers by the heartstrings. You have them invested, and you have them feeling that, yeah, you probably know what you're doing and can take them on a pretty good emotional trip. You have their attention, point being. So your characters and their situation are raising questions. Your scene itself is a sweet reminder of why the canon is so awesome, and the story is also going to be awesome because you've got that sweetness down. So you've got all that wrapped up in a cool opening package, and now it's time to condense that even further in the form of one sentence where you open up everything. And this is by far the hardest thing to write. At least for me. Probably because it has this weight of having to get everything down into one opening sentence to hook the readers into. The entire story is riding on this one sentence. No pressure. This is probably why I wait until the final draft to write that opening sentence, and maybe rewrite it a couple dozen times. Probably more so than I edit all the other drafts. Sometimes I study other works to get an idea of how to condense everything into a single sentence. I remember taking a class in college that dealt with storytelling, and in it the instructor waxed eloquent on how much he loved the opening sentence of The Dark Tower, which went, "The man in black fled across the desert, and the gunslinger followed." And I can see why he loves that opening sentence so much, because you've got a sense of place via the desert, and two characters, either of which could be a protagonist and antagonist, and there's short and sweet visual descriptions of them, and of course, that title. Gunslinger. It brings all sorts of visuals and professions to mind, and ideas of what sort of setting and genre this might be. It's pretty cool. And as a disclaimer, maybe you don't like that sentence at all. Maybe you think that it plays with the emotions or is too obvious about how a badass it's attempting to be. But it's good to figure out and isolate why you don't like it so you can avoid making the same mistakes in your own writing. So, there's a few ideas on how to grab people with an opening and keep them reading. I hope that gave you guys a few thoughts and inspirations. I'll see you next time, and until then, take care and write better fanfic.